Okay, in this Patreon exclusive video, I want to touch on the basics of having a sexually provocative conversation with a woman over the phone. Sexually provocative conversation with a woman over the phone. Now, there's a lot of areas of dealing with women that I feel like I have a high degree of knowledge, wisdom, insight, and advice on. But probably the number one area where I most hang my hat on in terms of an exceptionally high degree of expertise is the area of verbal seduction and erotic dirty talk. Verbal seduction and erotic dirty talk. And even more specifically, phone sex. I think most of my longtime followers know that in my adult life, I've actually had phone sex with way more women than I've even had physical sex with. Yeah. If I had to give a rough estimate, beginning with 1991 was probably the first year I really got into phone sex. So you're talking about almost 30 years ago, about 29 years ago, was when I really first got into phone sex. And starting with 1991 up until now, I've had phone sex with over 2,100 women. Yes. Over 2,100 women I've had phone sex with. Yeah, that's way more. Like physical sex, I don't even think I break the 400 mark when it comes to my number of physical sex partners. But yeah, phone sex, I've had phone sex with over 2,100 women since 1991. And a sizable percentage of those women actually paid me money for it. Actually paid me money for phone sex. That's how much they enjoyed it, and that's how much I left them satisfied. So that's just to establish my credibility on this issue. But so let's get right down to it. Let's say you've exchanged numbers with a woman and you call her or she calls you. You call her or she calls you. Now, number one, if you call a woman, you never want to be annoying or overly persistent. You never want to be annoying or overly persistent. What do I mean? Meaning that, let's say you meet a woman on Thursday and you guys exchange numbers. And you call her on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. And let's say you get her voicemail. I would just leave a message and then wait for her to call you back. I wouldn't call her 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. I wouldn't do that. You're going to come across as annoying, overly persistent, and even thirsty or desperate. Excuse me for a second. So yeah, you don't want to do that. What I typically would do in that situation, like say I met a woman on Thursday and I exchanged numbers with her. First thing I'm going to do, if I decide to call her as opposed to waiting for her to call me, I would say, let's say her first name was Bridget. I would call her by her first name. I would say, hello there, Bridget. This is Alan Roger Currie. I met you on Thursday at Water Tower Place in downtown Chicago. And I was just giving you a call to find out when would you like to share my company one-on-one, face-to-face, so we can begin to build chemistry with each other. Or sometimes I say to identify if we have the chemistry that I think we have. Here's my number. Blah, 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 blah. I look forward to hearing from you. hang up the phone. Now you don't have to use that verbatim. You can change it up, add a couple things if you want to, but that's my basic first call. That's my basic first call. Okay. Now let's say I call and leave a message and I don't hear from her for 5, 6, 7 days. I don't call her again. See, a lot of guys attempted to make a second call. I don't call a woman again. If that woman doesn't respond to my first voicemail message, I don't call her again. I do not call her again. That's one of the biggest, simple mistakes I've seen a lot of men make, is that they'll call a woman, leave a message, and then if they don't hear from that woman, say for 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, they go ahead and call her again. Once you call that woman a second time, you're going to look desperate. You're going to look like you don't have any other options other than her. And I don't like to give a woman an impression. So once I leave a message, I'm going to wait for her to call me back. And if she never, in a 5% chance she doesn't call me back, move on to the next woman. I'm not going to call her a second time. Nope. The only time I've ever called a woman a second time after calling the first time is if I didn't get a chance to leave a message. Yeah, if for whatever reason, I can't think of an extenuating circumstance, but I'm sure I've had a few extenuating circumstances where I wasn't able to leave a message. Then I would say it's generally okay to go ahead and call a woman a second time. But if you already left a detailed message in your first call, I wouldn't call a woman a second time. I wouldn't call a woman a second time. Yeah, the only time you should call a woman a second time is if the first time you called, for whatever reason, you didn't leave a detailed message of why you were calling. Excuse me again. I'm drinking you can't see it in here, but strawberry lemonade drink with stevia, that's sweetened with stevia extract. Okay, now let's say she calls me back. I left a voicemail message for her. I met her on Thursday. We exchanged numbers. I called her on Saturday, left a message. And let's say she returns my call on Tuesday. She returns my call on Tuesday. What's the first thing you want to talk about? Well, the first thing I usually want to talk about, well, it depends. Well, I guess it depends on if the woman lives near me or she's in another city. If the woman lives near me, like say within driving distance, then the first thing I'm going to do is look to set up a day, date, and time that we can get together face to face. That's going to be my first objective. So let's assume I'm talking to a woman that lives within driving distance with me. I'm going to say, hey, Bridget, how you doing? No, wait, she called me. So she's like, hello, may I speak to Alan? And I'll be like, this is he. Hey, Alan, this is Bridget. Hey, what's up, Bridget? Check it out. When are you free within the next week or two to share my company one-on-one? That's the first thing I'm going to say. Bridget, when are you free within the next week or two to share my company one-on-one? And she's either going to do one or two things. She's either going to give me a date. No, I say one of three things. She's usually going to get one or three responses. She's either going to give me a specific day, date, and time that we can hook up face to face. Second reaction response is usually going to be, well, I need to get to know you better. That's what a lot of women will say. Something to that along that line. I need to get to know you better. Tell me more about you. And if that's the case, I ask for specificity. I'll say, okay, what specifically do you want to know about me that will allow you to feel more comfortable revealing your real self to me? That's what I usually say. What do you want to know specifically about me and my background that will motivate you to reveal your true, genuine, authentic self to me? Yep. Or something along those lines. That's what I usually say. What specifically? Because get to know each other. When a woman says, I want to get to know you, that's just too broad. That's too general. I want to know specifics. Like, do you want to know information about past relationships with women I've had? You want to know something about my financial background? You want to know something about my educational background? You want to know something about my health and fitness background? I mean, what do you want to know specifically? So when a woman says, well, before I set up a dating time to get together with you, Alan, I would like to get to know you better and, find out more about you. Again, my response is, what specifically about me would you like to know that will motivate you to feel more comfortable revealing your true, genuine, authentic self to me? And then I let the conversation flow from there. Then the third general potential reaction response you're going to get is, oh, well, I got a lot to do over the next 2, 3, 4 weeks. I don't really think I'm going to have time to share your company, meet with you one-on-one in the next 2, 3, 4 weeks. See, right there, that woman's a manipulative time waster. She's looking to waste your time. And I would just be like, okay, I understand. Don't criticize her. Don't say, oh, why not? You're not that fucking busy, bitch. Why not? No, you don't criticize, you don't disparage, you just say, okay, I understand. And then you end the phone call. So those are 3 general reactions you're going to get once you leave a voicemail message and a woman calls you back. She's either going to immediately... No, your first objective should be, this is for if you're talking to a woman that's within driving distance. You make it known you want to connect with her face-to-face in person within the next 2, no more than 3 weeks. And invite her to give you a specific date, and time for you two to do that. And once you do that, again, she's going to immediately reciprocate your interest in sharing her company one-on-one, and she's going to give you a date and time for you two to connect. I've had that happen at least 50, maybe 60% of the time. The second reaction response you're going to get is she's going to say, well, before I set a date and time, I want to get to know you better. I want to find out more about you and what you're about. And again, if she says something along those lines, then my recommended response is, what specifically would you like to know about me and my background that will motivate you to feel more comfortable revealing your true, genuine, authentic self to me? Or the third option is she's going to give you some bullshit about why she can't hook up with you one-on-one, face-to-face over the next 2, 3, 4 weeks. If that's the case, just leave her alone. I don't care how beautiful she is, how sexy she is. Just leave her alone in the conversation. Okay? All right. Now let's go back to option number 2. She's asking you, more about you. If she gives you any opening to talk about your sexual desires, interests, and intentions, preferences, knock that door down. If she cracks the door open, knock that door down. I'll reference my video called Bring the Thunder. If you remember, I did a Patreon exclusive video called Bring the Thunder. Yeah. You got to bring the thunder, man. What would be an example? Let's say a woman says, well, when you're not concentrating on the responsibilities of your career, what are some things that you do to relax and have fun? That's a general opening. Just say, hey, ideally, I love to exchange orgasms with an attractive woman. I like to exchange orgasms with an attractive woman and see how she responds to that, or say something to that effect. Yeah, remember what I said, man. In my strong opinion, a conversation doesn't really get started until you start talking about fucking. That's my strong opinion. A conversation between you and a woman does not really get started until you start talking about fucking. As long as you're talking about the weather or politics or sports, you're just engaging in an entertaining conversation that doesn't lead to shit. Somehow you gotta either wait for an opening or create an opening where you can talk about sex. Now, the other category of women. So that was category of women that are within driving distance. Now, let's say you're talking to a woman that you met online, I don't know, Facebook or some online dating app that's in a different city than you. She's too far for you to drive to hook up with her, at least in the near future. Then that's when you want to go straight to trying to provoke phone sex. You want to go straight to trying to provoke phone sex. That's what I do. Whenever in the past I was talking to a woman that lived out of town, my number one objective was to provoke her to engage in an episode of phone sex with me. Again, when I'm talking to a woman who I can hook up with face-to-face within the next 2 or 3 weeks, then my number one objective is just to establish a date and time that I can share her company one-on-one, face-to-face. But if I'm talking to a woman that is virtually impossible for me to share her company one-on-one, face-to-face within, say, the next 3 or 4 weeks, then that's what my number one objective is going to be, to provoke her to engage in an episode of phone sex with me. And so I'm either do one or two things. I'm either wait for her to give me an opening. An example of a woman giving me an opening would be a woman calls me, or I call a woman, and she says, oh my God, you caught me just as I am about to take a bath, or you caught me just as I'm about to take a shower, or just as I'm getting out of the bathtub, or just as I'm getting out of the shower. First thing I'm gonna say is, I bet. If they tell me they're about to get in the bathtub or the shower, I'll usually say, I bet you're about to play with your pussy, aren't you? I bet you play with your pussy when you take a bath or take a shower. And be prepared for her saying something like, oh my God, I don't believe you said that. Oh my God, did you just say that? Just be prepared for that. Be real calm. Don't freak out on her freaking out. Just be calm and say something like, yeah, I actually said that. And tease her, say, yeah, you believe I said that. Don't act like you don't believe I said what I said. You believe it. And then see how the conversation goes from there. So that would be waiting for a woman to give you an opening. Something like her mentioning she's about to get in the bathtub or the shower, or just get out of the bathtub or shower. Or she might mention her and her girlfriend were just talking about porn or something. I don't know. Now, over half the time, I've created my own openings. I don't wait for a woman to give me an opening. I create my own openings. So no later for me, usually no later than roughly the 5-minute mark of the conversation. The most I'll engage in non-sexual conversation with a woman is for roughly about 5 minutes. About 3 to 5 minutes. And then no later than the 5-minute mark, I'm going to say something sexual. Like, so, you look like a woman who prefers doggy style. Am I right or am I wrong? And see what she says. Or how many times per month would you say you play with your pussy? I bet you play with your pussy quite a bit. Or what type of vibrator do you own? You just seem like a woman who owns at least 2 vibrators. I mean, anything. I'll make up anything sexual to talk about. Because I want to see how if nothing else, I want to see how she responds to my sexual conversation. I want to see how a woman responds to my sexual conversation, because that gives me a good read on the type of woman I'm dealing with. Because your number one objective is to identify if you're dealing with a reciprocator, a rejecter, wholesome pretender, erotic hypocrite, or a manipulative time waster. And the way you find that out, which one of those 5 archetypes you're dealing with, is by bringing up the subject of sex. See, when you talk about non-sexual shit, then that's when you're not going to be able to identify clearly if a woman's a reciprocator, a rejecter, a wholesome pretender, an erotic hypocrite, or a manipulative time waster. It's not until you start talking about sex and make your sexual desires, interests, and intentions known that you'll be able to effectively identify which one of those 5 archetypes a woman is. And that's your challenge. Are you ready for the challenge? Are you? To be continued in a video in the near future. For now, I'm signing off.